There is a skeleton, 46,000 years old, found in a cave in Iraq. And when archaeologists really examined it, they found something that shouldn't exist. Something that rewrote everything we thought we knew about prehistoric humans. This man, he had survived for years with a withered arm, a missing hand. He was blind in one eye. He couldn't hunt. He couldn't gather food. He couldn't defend himself. By every rule of survival, the brutal logic we imagine ruled the ancient world, he should have been dead, but he wasn't. Someone fed him. Someone protected him. Someone decided that this broken man, this liability by all practical measures, was worth keeping alive. And that raises a question that most of us have never really thought about. If ancient humans showed compassion to the physically disabled, what did they do with the mentally ill? We tell ourselves a story about our ancestors. That story is simple. They were brutal, efficient, that weakness meant death, and the strong survived and the weak disappeared. That's what we learned in school. That's what we see in movies. We believed that anyone who couldn't contribute was abandoned, left behind, forgotten. But the bones tell a different story. We need to understand something fundamental, something that changes this entire conversation. Mental illness is not modern. It didn't appear with smartphones. It didn't arrive with industrial stress or social media or the pressure of modern life. Mental illness is as old as the human brain itself, because the same brain that allowed us to imagine, to plan, to build civilizations is the same brain that can turn on itself. Depression, schizophrenia, psychosis, mania. These aren't products of modern anxiety. They're written into the very architecture of what we are. They've always been there. Here's a statistic that changes everything. Schizophrenia affects roughly 1% of every human population ever studied. Everywhere, every culture, every century. 1 in 100 people. Think about what that means. In a band of 50 ancient humans sitting around a fire 40,000 years ago, one of them was likely experiencing something the others couldn't see, hearing voices, seeing things that weren't there, disconnected from the shared reality everyone else inhabited.
So what happened to them? For a long time, the assumption was simple, clean, logical, probably wrong. They died. They were abandoned, driven out, maybe killed. Because a group on the edge of survival couldn't afford passengers, couldn't afford people who couldn't contribute. That was the theory. And then the archaeological record kept showing something else entirely, something that forced us to reconsider everything.
Let's go back 100,000 years. Morocco. Researchers find the remains of a woman. She had a condition that would have caused severe cognitive impairment, intellectual disability, possible behavioral disruption. She could not have survived alone, not even close. And yet she lived into adulthood. Someone cared for her, not for a week, not for a season, for years. Someone fed her, someone protected her, someone made the daily choice that she mattered. Or consider Atapuerca in Spain. 430,000 years ago, researchers found a young person with a condition called craniosynostosis. The skull fuses prematurely. It causes developmental problems, neurological differences, cognitive difficulties. This person should have been visibly different from the day they were born. Everyone would have known. And yet this individual survived well past the age where anyone could have dismissed them. Someone knew about their condition, and someone chose to keep them alive anyway.
These aren't isolated cases. These are patterns occurring across the world and spanning hundreds of thousands of years. The archaeological record shows us something we need to hear. People who could not have survived alone did survive. It wasn't because their communities didn't notice. It was because their communities made a choice. The oldest known act of human compassion isn't written in stone, it isn't a poem, nor is it a temple or a monument.
It is a person with a disability who lived longer than they should have simply because someone decided they were worth keeping.